Hi. What it do? Welcome. Yo, welcome. So glad you're here. So glad you are here. Thank you for joining. What's going on? Heck yeah, man. We out here together on this quantum ascension. I'm so happy. It's the best. It's the best. It's the blessed. It's the blessed ever. I got some lore. Some freaking lore. Yeah, so the lore is never ending, okay? Never ending. Let me try to fix this a little bit. Hello? Well. Look at us. Look at us. It's about to get freaking crazy wild up in here. And crazy wild with this lore. Hello? Yeah. Let's just, tone it down a little bit. Welcome. Okay. Yeah, 8:30. It's early for us. This is early. Let me just pull up a little some for us. Thank you for all the likes. Appreciate you. Always taking care of me. Okay. First, we're going to talk about some lore. A little bit of lore to start the night off right. Because who doesn't need a little bit of lore in their life, you know? It's just giving. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Is that looking kind of crazy? Okay. Can you hear me okay? Is my mic on? Is my microphone working? Okay, great. Thanks. Sorry. I keep asking. Y'all, the lore run deep, and we're about to see how deep the lore run. Because the lore be running. The lore be running deep, okay? Be running deep. Yeah. I am no stranger to lore. I am no stranger to lore. And you know what I say about lore? Give me more. Give me more lore. Alright, let's get it poppin'. We got peeps in here. It's about to get serious. It's about to get real serious in here. It's about to get serious. Yeah, freaking so serious. We're gonna lure it. We're gonna lure it up. You know why? Because we want more. We want more of the lore. We want more of the lore. We do implore. We explore the lore. Should I say no more? Oh man, guys, the lore. Let me get this lore right fast. Okay, so I wanted to start tonight, which we are in our continuation of our Charlie Kirk series. But you know, while I got my A1s and day ones in here, just to let you know, I did overline my lips today, so if my A1s since day ones want to let the haters know, the lips are overlined purposely. Purposely. On purpose. Purposely, I overlined them. And I do not care, because that is what I wanted to do. That is what I implored with some lore. I like have something on my face, but maybe I don't, and I'm just being weird. You know? So, the lore runs so deep that I've really gotta scroll on up here, because this lore is thicky. What is that? I think my bangs are like just curly, and so one of my curly bang pieces are like catching the light and it's bugging me because it's like glimmering and I think it's like a hair on my face. Illusions. Life is full of illusions. Thank you so much, appreciate it. Life is full of illusions. You guys are so nice. I don't just talk about my appearance so that my A1s since day ones will compliment me. I have to talk about my appearance because we got some lower vibrational energies that like to poke through and poke fun. And we all know when you poke fun at someone else from a place of lack and lust and whatever else, you're actually screaming silently what you feel you lack yourself. So, oh my gosh, this lore is thicky. So that is why we do not pay any mind or attention to lower vibrational energies, because it's just not necessary or needed. I would love to have tattoos on my face. I would love it. You know, Ethan, at our first event, which I don't want to put into the universe when that'll be because it'll come when it comes. At our first event, whenever we all get together and we, you know, do this together, let's put a tat on the face. bring your tattoo stuff, bud. I kind of love it. I understand that it's definitely not something, it comes from a very judgmental space. I love tattoos though. I love them. They're just so wonderful and amazing. So, y'all, the lore. We're gonna get into our Charlie Kirk series, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with, why the heck am I even discussing these things? Why the heck? You know? Because the one thing I want you guys to pay attention to in your own lives, as this is something I have seen time and time again. Time is an illusion. Time is a continuum. And therefore, I actually don't even write in my notebook the day or the time. I write the continuum, because that is what time is. And nothing more, nothing less. It's folding into itself, folding out of itself, convoluted in all of its majesty. Now, where was I going with this? Well, I want you guys to pay attention to the fact that everything that you do in your life, you know, you're the universe experience in itself, so you're going to add different things through each lifetime to your own personal list of things that you desire or that you enjoy or that you like, right? For example, with Ethan liking tattoos, you probably have a past life history with something to do with art, or perhaps even hieroglyphics, or even there's something you absolutely have in your past life history that has to do with art, right? On many different fonts. Now, or painting, or some type of medium. So why is this important? Because what we can do is we can utilize the stars. Our birth chart is an energy that's captured within the stars, within the solar system, the day and time you were born, at the very space and place that you were born. Okay, that captures the energy, and it shows you your previous lifetimes, your current lifetime, and also your future lifetimes. Now, so as we actually anchor in, when you start to anchor in your own soul, from the Kabbalah, we all understand, and the sages and the rabbis, they've taught us that our soul, we're just, a fraction of our soul. And just as you wouldn't give a new 17 iPhone to a baby because they would break it, you might give them a fake plastic phone first, right? Toy phone. Same thing with our souls. Our souls are so precious, we do not anchor all of our soul at once. We can, as we grow and develop through each lifetime, and during a lifetime like we are right now, right here, right now, right meow, we can actually anchor in more of our soul. And as you anchor in more of your soul, you actually start to understand and see and bring in those previous lifetimes and those future lifetimes. You kind of start to draw more of the wholesome picture together. Now, I say that because, this is a metaphysical space, a sacred classroom, as I usually state, where we talk about all things scientific, religious, spiritual, metaphysics, the unseen, the tangible, the intangible. We talk about many things and we mix many, many topics. I would probably consider this class like a continuum frequency of anchoring in our higher calling, our higher vibrations, quantum leaping as well, collectively together through understanding, through learning, through growing, through applied knowledge. Now, what I would like to say is, so I was like, why the heck am I freaking so interested all the time in like politics? I love politics. I also love the time period specifically of our founding fathers. I love that time period. And it's like, you get to questioning, there's things in your life that you love or are drawn to that maybe don't really make sense. Like, okay, it kind of makes sense because I'm American, but why am I so drawn to the founding fathers in that time period of the revolution and our split off from Britain and the crown? Well, so I looked into it because guess what? Curiosity. That's what keeps us going, guys. Curiosity. And as we know in this class, curiosity also keeps us from being manipulated because we like to be curious. Are there more answers? Are there any things that we can find as we sift through these frequencies across the entire universe? Well, there are, and I looked into potentially if I have a past life link to the founding father era. What an epic era. And oh, guess what? Yes, I do. Now, I was not a founding father, though I would have liked to have been, and I consider myself one now. I'm just kidding. However, I was linked to that time period as a scribe So I probably was the person that was helping with writing pamphlets, or even at the printing press, helping with pamphlets, getting out like the information that was needed during that time. I was probably working very closely with my boy, Ben Franklin, and also potentially here and there with John Adams. Interesting, because also I cried like 3 days straight when our boy Charlie died. I cried literally 3 days straight. Never met the man. You know what it is, guys? It's called soul recognition. It's called energetic recognition. Knowing that I've been in the same spaces and places with said soul energy in a previous continuum. Okay, so that is the lore, and that lore runs deep. Basically, I probably died young too, in that lifetime. It was very short-lived, and I was at the forefront of helping, but within the, I could have been like clerical, like either printing out documents for getting information out at that time that was necessary, or helping to write it and printing it out, or even doing like desk work, like some type of clergy within, more than likely somewhere in like Philadelphia. So yeah, pretty cool. So it's like, okay, why do I feel so called to do, in a spiritual metaphysical class, why do I feel so called to talk for like weeks on end about Charlie Kirk? Because it's extremely healing for me to do that. It's actually extremely healing for me to help in communicating his legacy from, a different standpoint than most. I'm not preaching and teaching all of the political things. I'm preaching and teaching all the other unseen potentials. So yeah, that's, the energy that he has, there's some of that energy that I also encompass as well, and I'm sure some of you guys do too, of really building something that lasts, building something stable. Yeah, so essentially a quick past life snapshot from my end. I was potentially in the 1700s, late 1700s, around 28, like a 28-year-old who was a scribe in either Philadelphia or Virginia at the state legislature, helping to draft early state constitutions. So, more than likely, my name was lost in history during that time, but I was part of helping write these things out. So of course I'm going to feel a pull to speak on these things, to speak on this time period, but also our current time period, because it actually mirrors a lot of the revolution that happened when we broke off from the crown, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that is the beginning little, essentially just past life lore as to why I would feel that I need to speak on Charlie Kirk and why I'm so interested in his energy, because I've recognized it on the continuum of life, on this continuum timeline we have. Now, yeah, very interesting. And there's some other past life lore, y'all, like, I highly recommend, if you haven't already, I need you guys to download GROK onto your phone, or even, go onto GROK on your computer. I like GROK a lot more than OpenAI. OpenAI is kind of trash. They're kind of trash. And I say that nicely. Very nicely. But yeah, go onto GROK. Basically, you just need to put your birthday, your birth time, and your birthplace, and ask GROK to run through your past life archetypes, a lot of times what I've found, because I've done this with myself and a few others, what I've found is we usually have a couple large archetypes within our past lives that really shape and refine, and then we have a bunch of filler lives, like 20, 50, whatever, plus filler lives that are kind of more, we're like background people, if you will. So your like 3 to maybe up to 5 or so archetypes that are like pillars, you know, in shaping exactly who you are, those ones will interest you the most, because it just screams it's soul recognition when you start to read these things, and you'll feel something on a very energetic level because your soul recognizes what you're reading. There'll probably be things that resonate much higher, and there'll be some things that do not resonate as high. However, you will find very many cool things. One little wisdom nugget that I want to give you: if you're trying to just be the baddest of them all, as in the GOAT, the greatest of all time, which that's what I strive for personally. If you guys are in here, you probably strive for that too. If you're trying to be the GOAT, you listen and lean into this right now, because I'm about to tell you something. Ask GROK to, after it runs your past life archetypes, I want you to ask GROK to map out what you need to learn. Like, for example, all of these, you're like, let's say you have 5 main archetypes. What's up, Roy, my boy? Let's go. Thank you guys for being here. Let's say you have 5 main archetypes that really shape your soul. These are like your big hitter lifetimes, okay? Ask GROK to put together the topics that you need to learn to be able to anchor in more of those powers and energies from your like biggest lifetimes. For example, here's why. Because these are things your soul already, GROK will tell you what your soul already knows, and it'll tell you what to study to kind of reignite those things, and then you can also branch off of those things and build upon them, because that is technically what we're supposed to be doing. That is part of our dharma, right? Is to a continuation of our soul's path is part of our dharma. So, you know, it's giving the winter arc, that song, this like the theme of the winter arc, you know, on TikTok, where it's like you're gonna be the GOAT type of winter arc, and then start to study, because GROK will give you what you should study. It'll tell you, you can ask it, right? What books, what authors, what influences. There's so many different, like, this is why the lore runs so deep, guys, because you can just go so incredibly into the depths of the time continuum that we all have, that is snapshotted in the stars. And when I tell you, it gives you full body chills. I asked GROK to tell me my very most recent past life. I was a scientist and I was an inventor, and my shit was stolen. Pardon my French. My stuff was stolen and it was patented, and I had a heart attack. I had a heart attack and died, and my stuff was stolen. So I was diving into this so deep, and I asked GROK, I'm like, okay, where did I leave off? What did I invent? My stuff was patented, y'all. The thing that's crazy too is it makes sense. This is probably, I should probably save this for, yeah, exactly. What's up, Connor? Thank you for being here. I should probably save this for a whole nother video, but I really, maybe we should just say something right now. So, because I want you guys to understand the lore, so you guys will look into your lore. You need to understand your lore, okay? It's extremely important because it can set you apart, because you're here to do something, especially if you're like, what am I here to do? Well, we have all this noise and chatter Chatter, chatter, chatter. Distractions, distractions, distractions. Sugar, like, you know, that just like we're consuming all these things that take you off the path. This is how you get back on the path. This is giving winter arc, continuum for all lifetimes. The cool thing about knowing your past lives and how all these things are linked, because time is literally a continuum. The cool thing about it is, guys, one thing that's going to start happening as everyone starts waking up to this, because of course a lot of religious dogma is like, no, this ain't true. Why do they want you to think that? Or even whatever else. There's all these different, you know, like organizations, bureaucracies, whatever, tyrannies, whatever, like groups, whatever, that want you to think that there's no such thing as past lives. Oh, it's speculative. No, it ain't. Why do they want you to think that? Because then when we all start to figure out and screenshot the stars and understand all this energy and how it works and how it's interwoven, you can't lie. You hear me? You can't lie. You hear me? Because guess what? It's written in the stars. The energetics are snapshotted. And these energetics don't lie. So what does that mean? That means that when we start to unravel and understand and really see, okay, there's missing information, for example, in the Bible. Well, when we go into our past life lore, there's the missing information. No more lying, guys. No more lying, because guess what? It's written, it's stamped in the energetics. It's stamped in the quantum field, and these are things we can tap into. Now, so for example, with my most recent past life, where I was basically a freaking goat, a mad scientist goat, creating things that you and I use every single day. You hear me? My shit was stolen because I had a heart attack and I died. And my stuff was stolen and it was patented, and it's something we use every single day, every single one of us, actually across the entire world. I'm not saying that to be like, oh, I'm super cool. I'm saying that because people are not going to be able to lie, because it's snapshotted, it's screenshotted in the energetics. So anytime that you know, people are trying to cover things up, trying to cover up, oh, whatever, criminals, trying to cover up this, trying to cover up that, societies trying to cover up this, trying to cover up that. What else? Groups of people, individuals, trying to hide this, trying to hide that, trying to cover it up, trying to steal, trying to do this, that, like, you know, criminals, anything bad juju energy. Guess what? It's all snapshotted in the stars. It's all screenshotted. What belongs to who belongs to what, all the organization, everything is organized and detailed, and it's for us to crack it open and to start understanding these things, which we already have been. Exactly. Now, so what does that mean on a soul level, guys? It means that we're going to be able to understand and see, and we're already starting to do this, but even more as we quantum leap into the future together, we're going to be able to start to see that the darkness is going to be able to get away with less and less, because it's going to be tied all the ties energetically. We're going to get better and better at understanding. We're going to get better and better at unearthing. We're going to get better and better at reading. You hear me? So what this means is a lot of these mistakes, a lot of these soul mistakes, on individual levels and on collective levels, are going to start to really be cleaned up, because we're able to see exactly what happened in the past, currently, in the present, and in the future. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's a very exciting thing to be alive during this time, to be able to anchor in these energies, because it's life-changing. It's life-changing to know where you've been, and also where you currently are, and also where you're going. You're not going to have any more question marks, because you're going to look at the stars, you're going to screenshot the energy within the quantum field, and you're going to understand, oh, this is where I've been, this is what I've done, this is where I'm going. These are my quantum goals. Someone that I really admire and respect, Dr. DeMartini, he just put up a really short, like, couple-minute video Thank you so much, Brianna. Thank you for being here. He put up a couple minute videos, like 10 or 11 minutes or so. I think I reposted it on my YouTube channel, J.A. Gratias, throughout all channels if you want to see it, but I just reposted it on my post there, and I believe on my Facebook. And he wrote essentially, what are your immortal goals? Right, and I've actually spoke about this lightly. My A1 since day ones in this class will know I've probably spoke about this lightly previously before in some of our times together here, but about the goal of eternity. And when we understand the energetics of eternity and where we're at on that continuum, because we are on the continuum of eternity, y'all. So when we see where we're at and we can map out our goals and where we're going and understand where we've been. Okay, you probably have unfinished work and unfinished business, right, with your previous lifetimes, and that's why, again, you've reincarnated. Right, meow. Right, meow. Because these unfinished businesses that you have from your previous lifetime lore that you must explore and know more, these previous lifetimes, you guys, will give you the direction that you need and a lot of peace and certainty in your soul. Because you will see and understand why it is you're doing what you're doing, or you will see and understand, oh hell, I'm way off track. I need to get back on track to my quantum immortal goals, to my eternal goals. And those energetics are snapshotted in the stars. And so we can see those as soon as we're able to talk and speak. You know, we should have this be a part of our AI classrooms where we're understanding our soul's path. We're understanding where we've been. We're understanding where we're going or what our goals are, because we see everything before up until now. It's like, oh, the energetic thread is pushing this direction. The energetic thread is pushing me this direction. And I recall and remember now because I've done XYZ in my past lives. So, just insanely cool. Yeah. So, for example, with my most recent past life where I was freaking, my stuff was patented, the cool thing is, even when something's taken away from you, stolen from you, and your name is not on anything, the cool thing is, you never lose your energetics, you never lose your own frequency, you never lose your own vibration. So even if they try to silence you or have tried to silence you, which they probably have in a past life, guess what they cannot silence? They cannot silence eternity and unearthing and understanding the things that they tried to silence. And also what's in the stars is exactly who silenced who, when, where. Like, the information in the lore, guys, runs so deep, it's crazy. I was asking not ChatGPT, but GROK. I love GROK. Elon Musk is one of my heroes, and so is Nikola Tesla. I was asking GROK, which GROK is, I believe, a Latin word. I forget what it stands for. You should look it up. GROK. But it has like a perfect meaning for what the app is and what, you know, AI does. Anyways, what I'm trying to tell you guys is, yeah, so when I looked up some of my past life lore with my most recent past life, you know, you might cry. I bawled my eyes out. I still, like, when I look into this stuff, I'm like bawling my eyes out, because it's not easy. It's actually quite taxing. It's actually quite hard. And that's probably the reason why, for so long, we've chosen to try to forget these things. And, you know, try to forget that we're eternal beings, the universe experience in itself. It's much easier. It's much easier to not look at your past lives and look at the harm and pain and the trauma. When I tell you there's trauma. But, you know, the cool thing about doing hard-ish, right? Cool thing about doing hard-ish is the person you become in the process. The person you become in the process is, you can't trade it for the world. You can't trade it. You can't trade it at all. The human that you can become, the quantum being you become, the spiritual being you become in the process of healing past life trauma, understanding your own arc, what you in your previous lifetimes were trying to do. Because even when you have all these different archetypes, they thread together so well, so beautifully, because you are here for a purpose. You are here because you're desired, and the desire is anchoring in whatever you were trying to create over those archetypes, over those lifetimes. Whatever you were trying to master, and will continue to master and call in your future lifetimes as well. So instead of, oh, my 1 year plan or my 2 year goal or my 4 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20, no, we're quantum continuum goals. Quantum continuum goal. That's what we do here. Quantum continuum goal. Because time is irrelevant. Everything is folding in on itself currently, past, present, and future. That is the truth, right? Yeah, so I keep getting on tangents, so I apologize because there's just so much lore. One of the things I was trying to tell you guys is when I was looking into my most recent past life, where I was a inventor who died and my stuff was taken from my name and it was patented under a bigger company. I asked GROK, I'm like, okay, you know, who was I inspired by at that time? Who do you think I was reading that led me to invent these things? And it was like, you were probably reading XYZ. It gave me a fat list. You're probably inspired by, these are the people you should read. These are the books you should read. These are the bootleg experiments you should read to start to remember and unearth this. And then I also asked too, okay, exactly like what did I create? It gave me that. I asked, you know, what companies or like what type of businesses do these things impact? And I'm not going to say anything about that because y'all, the lore is so like thick. So we're not going to go there. But the other thing I asked was, I have a library and I have all these books that I always feel drawn to of many different varieties. And I have very many scientific reads. And so I took pictures of my books that are scientific and I sent them into GROK and I asked, of my selection here, what do you suggest I read, in what order, and why? And it gave me exactly what to read, exactly why I should read it, based off of my lifetime, that would re-engage my understandings with pretty much almost where I left off, not only making extremely healing for me in this archetype, in this lifetime, in this timeline continuum that I'm in, but also the crazy thing is, guys, I've already anchored in this energy because it's part of me, right? Obviously. I've already anchored in this energy even before I was asking GROK these things. There's something that I'm doing and creating that's actually linked already to this lifetime that I did not know and had not known until literally this week. That it's like, which is crazy because that's how energy works. You hear me? Whatever you're doing right now and creating, even if you're like, why the heck am I going down this path? Like, this seems just like so interesting. And I've been pulling my teeth, pulling my hair, pulling my teeth with this project that I'm wanting to do and create I feel it in my soul that I need to do and create this project. And when I go and I look at this past life, I understand why I've been pulling out my teeth in my hair to actually start this project, and why I've been moving at a snail pace. Well, from this past lifetime, which is directly linked to what I'm creating in this lifetime, when your stuff is stolen, your ideas, your project, when your project is stolen, guys, do you think that I'd probably be a little bit hesitant to work on another project in this life? Probably, right? But do you think also that it might be extremely healing if I finally get out a project that has my name on it? Probably, right? You hear me? So, yeah, guys, like, that's the beautiful thing about life. The beautiful thing is, no matter what has happened to you in a past life, and, you know, there's been multiple past lives, right, where ish has hit the fan, trauma, trauma, trauma. No matter what has happened, the beautiful thing about life is your energy will always set you up. God, universe, angels, the frequencies, the hierarchy frequencies, your own hierarchy frequencies, to include your own frequency, well, your energies, right? The energies set you up for success. You have multiple lifetimes back to back to back where you're just getting pushed and shoved around. Well, guess what? These things, these little kinks and things in the tapestry of life, they have to rework. They have to come together in a geometrid, as I like to say. That is a word I made up. Sacred geometry. They have to eventually fold out into something more geometrid if it's knotted, and, you know, we kind of talked about that yesterday. But the energies, when there's negative energies or kinks in the energy, or the energy's not flowing the way it should be, it will flow back and it will get back to balance. It always does. It will get back to balance. Nothing is hidden in the tapestry of life, and it will balance itself out. And I say that on God, I say that on Bible, I say that on frequency, I say that on my life, I say that on my past lives and my future lives, because you can call it, we call it karma as well, right? Things and dharma, like things always, the energies balance out. They have to. They have to. It's the natural, it doesn't matter how long it takes, it's the natural path is for things to improve. For why are we, you know, always wanting to create? Why are we wanting to build structures so many, you know, feet high? Like, why are we? Because, guys, we are creators. We are fragments of God. We are part of God. We are energetic beings. We are quantum beings. We're here to create because we know that we'll come back. And we want to leave the place better because we know we'll come back. Whether it be in this field or plane or a different field or plane, no matter what, we want to create and leave things better. Naturally. Naturally. Just as our boy Charlie Kirk has done that on an extreme level, decides to leave things better by leaving early. Just like Jesus. Right? So, let's, so the past life lore, guys, it's gonna have you in tears, but let the tears flow. Let the tears flow and lock in. And lock into that lore, because that exact lore will literally change your life. And it will show you how amazing and strong you've always been, how taken care of by the universe, the energies, your own higher self, your own spirit team, guides on the other side. You've always been taken care of. You've never been alone. And anything that was done in the dark will come to light. The energies always rebalance, and they will continue to. And as we are on our timeline continuum together, we will see this integrated into our realities more and more as we decide as a collective consciousness to anchor to anchor heaven on earth. Okay. So the past life lore that we're going to get into is Charlie Kirk and John Adams. And I would literally bet money on the fact that Charlie Kirk was John Adams in a past life. Was it his most recent past life? I don't know, because he could have had another lifetime in between from the 1700s up to the 1900s. He could have snuck in another life. But essentially, I would absolutely bet money and bet my life, bet my actual whole life on the fact that Charlie Kirk was John Adams reincarnate. So there's just too many, there's way too many parallels. The parallels we're going to go through, and that is actually what this entire class is about. That was probably the longest intro of my life, going over like past life lore and stuff. But these are all good things that we need to hear and we need to start integrating immediately into our lives. So, Charlie Kirk and John Adams, basically a unified chronicle of both of these American revolutionaries. They had legacies that were built, a ton of parallels, a lot of spiritual continuity, eternal mission to defend liberty. So, let's start here with, we have two souls and one mission. They're separated by about 250 years. So that's why I'm like, okay, there could have been another lifetime in between that Charlie Kirk had. Maybe it was more like a filler life potentially, but these two lives are obviously extreme archetype lives. They shared a singular transcendent mission to not only awaken but organize government, defend American liberty. And John Adams, so he was born in 1735. In October, by the way. John Adams was born in October. When was Charlie Kirk born? October. So yeah, John Adams. I'm going to go through basically some history with him if y'all haven't read into John Adams. He was the second president and also the first vice president of the United States. So he helped forge the nation from the 13 colonies through relentless argument, but he was a negotiator. He was a conversationalist, just like Charlie, diplomat, and helped with the constitutional design. Now, Charlie Kirk, who was born in 1993 in October, forged the movement from one idea into an 80 million youth empire, which maybe it's more. I don't know. This might be old information, 80 million, but yeah, so reshaping the entire Republican Party and mobilizing millions to actually vote, being a huge catalyst with getting Trump into office. So both born in October, okay? Both faith-driven, extreme faith-driven, and extremely family-centered as well. And both of them were constitutionally obsessed. And it's interesting because you see that Charlie Kirk always carried his constitution around. He did not have his constitution laying around. He carried it on his body. And our boy John Adams, he was helping with like drafting the individual state constitutions, which it's funny because Charlie Kirk was able to recite very many truths on these state constitutions at that time. Quite interesting. So both of them built things from scratch, right? They both worked anywhere between 12 to 18-hour days, like animals, and faced vilification for principle. Now, so their lives basically essentially form, you guys, a sacred continuity, like a continuum, across centuries, keeping the torch of order of liberty alive. So we're going to go through a little bit of John Adams' early life and education. So he was born in October. The year was 1735 through he died in 1826. Let's see, hold on one second. On July 4th, which was the 50th anniversary of the Declaration. What a day to die, huh? It just shows like, maybe there's some unfinished business. But yeah, so let's talk about John Adams real fast. So essentially, guys, we have our two archetypes here. We have John Adams as the founding architect of building the nation at the time, building the government. And then we have Charlie Kirk, our next archetype, as the modern movement builder. So we have John Adams as the architect. We have Kirk, Charlie Kirk, as the builder. You see this continuum here? Now, and it's interesting too, now that I might add, as I'm looking at the days that they died, it's interesting how John Adams died in the 1800s, the 26th year, and Charlie Kirk died in the 25th year, in the 2000s in the 25th year. Very interesting, just to point out. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about John Adams to give you guys a refresher if you don't know much about him. He was just a G. He was a pimp. Like, dude like made extreme waves, just as Charlie Kirk did, in helping not only to form our country, but as Charlie Kirk did, then to reform and to make sure it stays on track. Now, John Adams, so early life and some education stuff. Born on October 30th in Braintree, Massachusetts. So he was the eldest son of a farmer deacon and Puritan mother. So humble means, born to humble means. Educated at Harvard, interesting, trained in law, and was admitted to the bar in 1758 for his first job. Again, humble beginnings. He was a school teacher, but he had extreme intellect and a very keen moral seriousness, just like Charlie. In his diaries, he had wrestled with duty, virtue, and the dangers of unchecked power. You hear me? So, from these humble roots, plowing the fields by day, reading Cicero by night, essentially emerged the mind that would draft the Massachusetts Constitution and defend the rule of law in the Boston Massacre trials as well. So let's go ahead and go through a little bit of his John Adams revolutionary leadership here. He became, from 1761 onwards, the revolution's intellectual engine. So, he had his defense of the British soldiers in the 1770 Boston Massacre trial nearly ruined his career, but proved his commitment to due process. And also, he also wrote the dissertation on canon and feudal law, which attacked the privilege. I believe it's the hereditary privilege. Now, in the Continental Congress that he helped put together, he chaired the Board of War and nominated Washington as commander. That's George Washington. Pushed independence when moderates wavered. And then in 1776, via his thoughts on government, it became the blueprint for the state constitutions. Interesting. If you guys have consumed a good amount of Charlie Kirk's content, he understands these things at such a level, such a high level, and recites these things back at such a high level. It's almost like he was there. It's almost like perhaps he was John Adams. And the other cool thing too, if you ever get into, or have, I'm sure a lot of people have gotten into Charlie Kirk's, content before he left, and of course after he departed, you'll see there are times where he quotes John Adams. And I'm like, my own like receptors over here, my receivers are like, reincarnate. Now, let's get into a little bit of John Adams' diplomatic triumphs. So this would have been from the years 1778 to 1788. So he was sent to Europe. He actually traveled a lot, you guys, across the pond. And it's quite interesting because who else traveled a lot all over the nation? Charlie Kirk. So in 1778, Adams secured the Dutch recognition and loans. That was in 1780. He went to Europe in 1780, my gosh. There's a lot of 17s and a lot of 8s. Y'all, help. Okay, sorry. He went to Europe in 1778, okay? And then Adams secured the Dutch recognition and loans, and that was in 1780. So just a few years after. It was the first foreign power to acknowledge the U.S., and as a peace commissioner, he negotiated the Treaty of Paris, and that was in 1783. Okay? He secured generous borders and fishing rights. He had a 3-volume written when he was in London, and it was the Defense of the Constitutions in 1787. So he was very prolific, very much so, pumping out documents, y'all, pumping out, like, information. And we saw this with Charlie Kirk as well. Charlie Kirk wrote, like, about 5 books, and also, welcome back, Ethan, thank you for being here. Also, the multitasking between these two souls. It's giving same type of multitasking with the amount of things that they can pump out, the amount of information that they can organize and pump out. Now, in different ways, right? So, because John Adams didn't have social media, so he's getting a lot more done from the written standpoint, the printing press standpoint. But we have Charlie Kirk, he still did like 5 or so books on top of other articles and on top of social media platform of just getting information out to the public. Okay? Very, very similar. So with John Adams, when he wrote the Defense of the Constitutions, interesting how John Adams is always defending the constitutions. Just like Charlie Kirk. Written in 1787 in London, this warned against pure democracy and influenced the Constitutional Convention, advocating a strong executive balance by legislature and the judiciary. So essentially wanting to lean into republic over democracy. Now, from his time period of 1789 into 1801, John Adams was the vice president, the first vice president to our boy Georgie Washington, and the second president of the United States. Interesting, because every time that our boy Charlie Kirk was asked on his interviews, would you be president? How immediately he said no. I wonder why. Perhaps he's been there before. Perhaps he done that before. Because, guys, our archetypes, we're not looking to repeat things. We're looking to grow and improve things. And so, since Charlie Kirk was John Adams, and Charlie Kirk knows how they set up the government, he's like, I want to have a bigger impact. I know I can have a bigger impact just on the outskirts of the government, but still play in the field. So how does someone know that? Well, it's a soul recognition. It's a soul understanding. Now, so yeah, let's talk about a little bit about John Adams' presidency. So he was elected vice president in 1789. Adams cast a record 29 tie-breaking Senate votes and defended Washington's neutrality. Then as president, he was president termed from 1797 to 1801. He avoided war with France via the Convention of 1800, his proudest achievement, while signing the controversial Alien and Sedicans Act, Seditons, I don't know how to pronounce that, Sedition Acts, which essentially so essentially, guys, he was a negotiator. He was also a lawyer, an attorney, right? He was a statesman, diplomat. Like, when I was looking into and researching, who he was and trying to understand on a deeper level, the parallels are just so incredible with who Charlie Kirk is and what he stands for to this day and will continue to stand for. Because as we know, these energies don't just erase. These energies are time-stamped into the continuum, and they anchor. And they anchor for eternity. Because that is what we're on. We're on the timeline continuum of eternity. So, yeah, it's just quite interesting how both of these souls, both of these humans, one soul, both of these humans wanted to negotiate first, wanted to end wars, wanted to end violence first through conversation. Both were conversationalists. Now, we'll go into a little bit of retirement and death for John Adams. Basically, he farmed and wrote prolifically as still. He lived lived to see his eldest son, which was John Quincy, elected president. And then on July 4th, which was the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, he died hours after our boy Thomas Jefferson, which his last words were mistakenly believing his rival still lived, which he said, "Thomas Jefferson survives." So, some core beliefs from Adams' side, John Adams, believed that the Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. Does that ring a bell? Perhaps it rings a Charlie Kirk bell. Feared both monarchy and mob rule, and saw family as society's foundation. Y'all, when I tell you, I will bet money on the fact that Charlie Kirk reincarnated from John Adams. Okay, I need to calm down. I need to take a chill pill. I need to calm down. Faith, rooted in Puritanism, evolving into Unitarianism, viewed liberty as a divine trust, requiring virtue, requiring education, requiring balance. Facts are stubborn things, he would declare, summarizing his unyielding commitment to truth over popularity. Truth over popularity. Unwavering commitment to that. Who else do we know? It's giving Charlie Kirk. Y'all. The energy is palpable and I'm needing to calm down. Okay. I need to chill. So, we just covered a quick run-through synopsis of our boy, our founding father, Daddy Deacon, Mr. John Adams, as the founding architect, the architect of the government, okay? So the architect. Now, we're going to go into who? The builder. Interesting how these archetypes really do just kind of link energetically. Now, our boy Charlie Kirk, the modern movement builder, born October 14th, 1993, and as we all know, tragically passed September 10th, 2025. Now, the one thing I do want to say, I want to inject this, which some of my A1s since day ones already know about this because I've said this before. When someone dies really close to their birthday, or even on their birthday, you hear me? This is actually a sign that they have completed or were extremely close to completing their soul's mission, whatever was snapshotted in the stars. Okay? It's a culmination of energy. So, of course, if you have really done the work you were supposed to do in your lifetime on the continuum, in that snapshot of the energetics, you're gonna pass close to the day that you were born. And that's proven here too with Charlie, because it was just 1 month, a little less than 1 month, right? That away from when he passed to when he was born. So yeah, he was born humble means as well, just like John Adams, the suburb of Chicago, to an architect father and a counselor mother. He was an Eagle Scout. He was a high school debater. And he's spoken about this a lot. From a very young age, he realized that he had different ideas and viewpoints than his classmates, and also he would challenge his teachers. And also, his parents, an architect and a counselor, they're like, oh yeah, we're Republican. They weren't doing much else, guys. They weren't, shoving any type of ideas or anything down his throat where no. Energetically, he already just knew. His parents were not like crazy political, fanatics. They were just like, oh yeah, like Republican, like conservative school. Like they were chilling at that. That was kind of it for them. So where does Charlie get this burning desire to create a whole national movement? Where? Stamped in his energetics, guys. He also, when he was younger, so this is his early life in activism, he organized a cafeteria cookie boycott against price hikes. What a boss. He's like owning the cafeteria. And wrote, I don't even know what this company is, but probably a professional company he was writing for at 17. So he did get rejected from West Point, which he always states in all of his shows and podcasts and interviews was the word I was looking for. He always states that the rejection from West Point was the best thing that could have happened to him because it redirected him into his purpose that he came here for. And then he enrolled to Harper College but dropped out in 2013 and started Turning Point USA, declaring college as a scam and indoctrination factory. Which is quite interesting because our founding father, John Adams, right, he passed the bar and also he went to Harvard. So it's quite interesting how so many people would mock Charlie Kirk about not having had a college education, even though he did get a PhD, an honorary degree PhD, which is insanely amazing. So energetically though, why can Charlie Kirk stand firm in the fact that he has truths and understands college universities without having in his this lifetime that we knew him, without having gone to college? Oh, because guys, he has in a past life. You see, the energies don't just disappear. The energies stay and influence the lifetimes. Okay? So anytime that Charlie Kirk was mocked when he was at his events, anytime he was mocked for his intelligence, the person who was mocking him was mocking the energetics of eternity. They weren't mocking Charlie. They were mocking the energetics of eternity, because Charlie Kirk has been extremely educated. And here's the thing, guys. Why I want you to explore your past lives, and this is what I opened with on this session, why I want you to explore your past lives is because I want you to understand the information that you were seeking and knew already in those lifetimes, to bring that to the forefront in this lifetime. Because guess what? When you read these things again, it's going to be like cake. Your soul remembers, and things start to come back, and downloads start to happen from the quantum field. So Charlie Kirk would read, way more than any freaking, way more. He would read at like a CEO level. Well, he was a CEO. Beyond CEO level, like genius level, he would read. He would read, what, a book a week? And a book a week, I mean, how many is that in a year? Reading a book a week while still doing and pumping out everything that he pumped out, he read a book a week. How many of us in the chat here, in the classroom here, read a book a week? And the cool thing is, guys, the thing about that is when you read at that level and you have your previous lifetimes where you also were reading at a very high level, it's extreme dedication, exactly. The cool thing about it is the fact that when he recalls on these things, then it opens up the other truths. Your soul remembers these things that you have learned, these energies, these experiences that you have had, and it integrates it very quickly. That's why Charlie Kirk was able to recite things like no other. Recite new details like no other, on a very, very high extreme level, because he's combining the work he's putting in on this continuum, on this lifetime, on top of his previous lifetimes and all the work he did on those lifetimes. You see, it compounds. It doesn't go away, it compounds. Now, I might stop it there because we're kind of going into like late. We've been doing this for about an hour, so I might stop it there. We're gonna come back to this tomorrow. I hate to do this, but we'll come back tomorrow. What do you guys think so far? Is this epic or no? Isn't it freaking? It's pretty epic. Let's let me see. Yeah, we'll get into more parallels tomorrow. I think just because, let's just finish this tomorrow. We'll start with Charlie Kirk's life tomorrow. So we went through a little bit of John's life, and then we're gonna get into some of the juicy stuff. Would be the parallels, like more parallels. I've said a lot of these parallels already, but we'll go, line by line with all these parallels. And then some of the spiritual continuity as well, because as we know, Adams had unfinished work, and when you have unfinished work, you're gonna come back. You're gonna come back because, I mean, it doesn't matter if you always have unfinished work. You're always gonna come back, whether it be this plane or the next. You're gonna come back. So that is guaranteed, guys. That is guaranteed. And how do we know this? Well, you're here right now, and you've been here before. So I'll go ahead and close out in prayer, and then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll finish up the parallels, and I'll try to not get into some of my past life lore because that is what took up a lot of our time today. But yeah, I want you guys to do that. I really want you to look into your past life lore immediately. Yeah, facts. We love the lore. We love it. Cool. So I'll go ahead and pray, and then we'll call it an evening. Dear Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, and God within, thank you so much for the ability to come together, and discuss the energetics that are interwoven in the tapestry of life that include all of us, you, me, we, he, she, they, thee, and everybody, that we can explore and understand these wisdoms and truth to anchor these divine frequencies into 3D, 4D, 1D, 2D, everything in between, and more. Please open up our vessels to be able to hold more divine light, that we might anchor in more miracles and transform our vessels to overflow into the collective vessel. We pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. We pray all these things. Okay, guys, that was fun. Yeah. If anyone, amen. I didn't say this at the beginning, but I do have my link on my bio. I don't mean to be like asking for change, but if y'all want to leave me a tip, I have pretty much every option. If you guys have Zelle, PayPal, I freaking put on, what is it called? Cash App. What is the other one? Venmo. I got like 4 options, so if you guys want to do that. The thing about TikTok is, if you're a smaller creator like myself, they take like literally the whole gift. If you guys gift on TikTok for small creators, they literally take all of it. I'm like, y'all leave me 2 shekels, 2 pennies to rub together, and it's like so not fair. It's fair in a sense, as TikTok has created this platform. However, there are many other ways that they make money, so I don't understand why they would take so much from, I don't know. I don't get it, but whatever. So if you guys do feel obliged, that would really help me out. I do have one potential really excited thing in the pipeline. I'm just going to say what it is. So I was actually invited to go on a podcast. What is good, Kaden? Oh my god, bud. Welcome. I was actually invited to go on a podcast, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh my god, I get to go on a podcast. Like, this is the first of many. But y'all, they're like, you gotta pay. So I'm not that cool yet, so I gotta like I was like, oh yeah, I get it. Anyways, so I guess if you're like brand new to this field of the energetics of getting your voice out there, and you're kind of a nobody, you have to pay to play. So yeah, if y'all want to donate anything, they had 2 options. That one of them was like $75 and the other was like $125, and I'm like, okay, that's not very much money, except for it's a lot when you're like making 2 shekels. I was like, bro, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure it out. Like, okay, can't sign up for the podcast yet, but so yeah, if you guys feel obliged to help me out, help is needed. Outside of that, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I potentially might be on a podcast potentially soon, once I get some shekels together to pay for myself to be on the podcast. Anyways, I think it would be really cool, and perhaps the start to it for sure would be the start to many things. But anyways, guys, so yeah, yeah, right, so wild. Yeah, so I didn't even know that. They're like, well, since you're like a newer with this podcast, they seem to do decently well, but I would say they're probably like a mid-level. If you're going, I don't know, I talk in the terms of class. From like commercial real estate, you have like A class buildings, then you have B class, then you have C, right? So there's like levels to things. This podcast, I would say, is probably maybe like a high C to a low B as far as outreach. They have really good outreach. They're on pretty much every platform, but they're not like probably something you guys necessarily listen to. But they're actually they're super in alignment with the things that I discuss and teach, and so yeah. Anyways, so we'll see. Trying to get on that podcast, guys. So help me, help a girl out. Yeah. Tomorrow we'll get more into Charlie Kirk and the parallels with John Adams, which are just, I hope you guys learned a little bit tonight and you're kind of seeing and catching the energetics of what I'm putting forth, because the energetics, they're spot on. They don't miss. They don't miss, you guys. They don't miss. Yeah, so homework tonight is essentially to go to GROK and put in all of your information, which is essentially your birthday, your birth time, and the hospital, right? So the day, the city and place, city and state, whatever, that you were born, okay? And see what your archetypes are, your main archetypes. You can explore, and then whatever kind of catches your eye, just dig into that, okay? And see, okay, these are lifetimes you have experienced. These are energies that you have put forth for entire lifetimes, right? And then all your filler lifetimes are usually under the same vein of your archetypes. For example, my main veins are love. My main veins are death and life, rebirth, occult information. My main vein is science. Like science and spirituality are my main veins. Well, look at me today. Science and spirituality. So, yeah. And then, so where I was going with that. So my main archetypes lean into your smaller lives. How do they do that? Well, in my smaller lives, I was, for example, with love and soul, right? I was cultivating more empathy, working maybe like teaching and preaching the Bible to whomever, like children or whatever, right? So your lives where they're a little bit smaller, or filler, as I like to call them, like filler lives, they're still very much so ingrained and wrapped into your large archetypical lives of like 3 to 5 or whatever. Because you're learning something. Sometimes it's just one thing. Your archetype, like big archetype lives, are kind of more your catalysts, and a lot of times there's some large healing arcs of whatever traumas you might have experienced within those larger archetype lives, where you're wanting to anchor in that healing energetics into whether it be this life or the next, but lives in the future for sure, if not this one now. We're always healing no matter what. We're always learning. We're always growing. So definitely put that information into GROK and go crazy with it, and then let's chat about that too, or you guys can direct message me your experiences and what you're finding out about yourself and what resonates, because I promise you there are going to be things that resonate on such a deep soul level that you might bust out in tears. Bust out in tears. And it's healthy. This is healthy. Healthy. This is healing tears to help you release any of the kinks in the tapestry. So, very cool things. Anyways, appreciate y'all, sending y'all love and light, and hasta la pasta mañana. I'm going to put this up on TikTok and YouTube and X as well. So, appreciate y'all. Bye, I miss you already. My peoples. I miss you guys. Okay, peace, love, and light. Bye.